A fierce battle between Christian conservatives and gay rights groups is raging in Tennessee. It's over a proposed change to the state's anti-bullying law for students, and we think it's undercovered. The main issue was spelled out in the December newsletter of the Family Action Council of Tennessee, which said in part it wants to, quote, make sure it protects the religious liberty and free speech rights of students who want to express their views on homosexuality. The gay rights group Tennessee Equality Project has denounced the move, saying it, quote, gives students a license to bully that allows them to hide their irrational biases behind an extreme religious belief. David Fowler is the president of the Family Action Council of Tennessee. Michelle Bliss is a board member of the Tennessee Equality Project. Thank you both for coming on the program. David, I'd like to start with you. Your response to the Tennessee Equality Project and other gay rights groups who say that this would give students a license to bully.
Well, first let me make it clear that that's just not true. Bullying is wrong, period. Any student and all students deserve to be protected from bullying. This bill actually puts into the statute the parameters of the First Amendment rights that students have according to our courts, from the Supreme Court's case in Tinker all the way down to a Seventh Circuit case from last March, the Zelnick case from the Seventh Circuit. So I don't know why there's such a controversy that putting what the courts have said is permitted and what's not permitted into a statute in Tennessee would be considered a license to bully, because that's not what this bill does when you read it objectively consistent with what the courts have said.
Michelle, what do you say?
Well, actually, I'm really happy to hear David Fowler say that no child deserves to be bullied. I think that's fabulous. Unfortunately, this bill provides a giant loophole in our already existing bullying laws. And that loophole is that it protects anything a child says to another child that is based in some sort of religious, philosophical, or political belief system. It is extremely broad. It provides a giant loophole for a child to say anything to another child. We're not talking about civil discourse. We're talking about nasty, ugly language that apparently you can preface by saying, my politics or my philosophy or my religion says this, therefore I can say this to you.
I know, David, that the concern is that, of course, your group doesn't want to create special classes of people or give special consideration to people when it comes to bullying. But these students, these gay students, have been targeted. I myself have done a number of stories on this. There's no question that they are a target. So is this really about special consideration, or is this about saving lives?
Well, it's about making the law of Tennessee clear as to what the Constitution permits. And with all due respect, I disagree strongly, vehemently, that this bill would allow anything to be said as long as it's cloaked in religious or political jargon. That's just not true. And if it needs to be clarified to make it so, then that's fine. But the law, in fact, and I think what gets forgotten in this bill is that it mirrors exactly the three things that the courts have said constitute bullying, one of which is creating a hostile educational environment. And that's been completely forgotten. So therefore, words even cloaked in political or religious terminology certainly can constitute bullying and can create a hostile educational environment, and the schools should step in, in that case, to say, no, this is about political discourse, civil, normal political discourse that the courts have said even students have a right to engage in, and in fact, in an educational environment should be encouraged to engage in, that they aren't in an intellectual bubble. And also, you know, all of that depends, too, upon the age range we're talking about. Things that might be permitted in high school clearly would not be permitted in earlier grades.
Michelle, what kind of risk do you think this poses? Does it increase the risk to these students?
Well, I think it does increase the risk to these students, especially as this is drafted, because it's not at all clear that what Mr. Fowler is saying is the limits of this bill. The way this bill is drafted, it allows for basically any statement that doesn't assert an attempt to commit physical harm or harm to property would be covered as long as it's couched in religious, philosophical, or political beliefs. The way this bill is written is extremely broad, and it provides basically an excuse for any type of bullying behavior. Well, I'm saying that because that's what my philosophy is. It's not written to protect our students. It's written to provide a loophole.
David, I'll give you the final word here.
Well, I think what got overlooked in the two instances she mentioned that describe bullying, completely omitted from that was Section A3 of the bill that talks about the hostile educational environment. The fact of the matter is the language of this bill mirrors what the courts have said, and if there's a problem with the bill, then they have a problem with our courts and the First Amendment, not with me.
David Fowler, Michelle Bliss, thank you both. You might say John Huntsman barely has a political pulse.